nightmares are not nightmares anymore. They're reality. This is our lives at this point, man. I'm not sure if anyone's. Oh
And
God.
appearing for
Okay.
the
Yep,
first
Mike. There it is,
time in a
guys. We did it.
podcast.
There it is. There it is.
It
There
is.
it is.
Are we on?
There it is. Okay. So, MicroRamble episode 1, the pilot episode, is showing up over here on 1, and the other one, MicroRamble, that's on right now, is there. It is. I can see us. I can see our stream. Our stream's live. Our stream is live. It's working.
We're live. That's good.
All right, so it's actually working. So that means we're live.
All right. Well,
so time to do the only thing we can.
On like YouTube or
everyone, everybody spread the link. Everybody spread the link and spread it on MicroWiki.
Right. I'll share it on.
I would, but it's
Use your admin card. Make
link
an announcement, dude. I'm serious. Make it. I dare you to make it an announcement on the wiki. You know, like to your admin.
doing at.
I can do that. I just it's kind of like.
Don't like at anybody. Just
I mean,
post
like
it and
when I
add
did
content.
when I did the announcement for the micro pages too, I actually asked Jonathan. I'm like, hey, is this okay to post in announcements? And we actually talked about it. Yeah,
I think he'd be cool with it. I would recommend just putting on announcements real quick because we got to get people to watch the stream because we're talking.
I don't see it on YouTube.
I'll link it in the
link. So
I will link the chat on the Discord server.
Whee. Okay.
Do you understand what I am saying right now, you silly American? I think what's funny is that even if we don't have anyone watching this, we can just save the stream. The thing about this is we can save the stream because of the fact that we can save. Oh, we got 3 people watching it.
Like right now.
We do.
It's basically what we can do is we can save the stream and we can like watch the here it is. My grandpa's on.
They're watching us right now. I want to say hi.
All right, so all right, I posted it over on the our server. But basically, since we're all here, we're talking. Daniel says A.
Daniel here.
A.
Give him a response. But yeah. So I think we should begin discussing what we got to do. And oh, Leon's watching. Leon's in the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, Leon has landed. Leon has landed to make our lives so great. Yeah, basically, I think the funny thing is, even if like we're done with the chat, we can we'll save the stream. Like we'll have it saved on YouTube, so it still be like a podcast. People can come back and watch it if they miss it live. It's like, which most people are gonna miss the streams live. We can still link it on the MicroWiki. Wait, I just realized something. Someone can link this on the MicroWiki on the news, given no one's gonna see it because it's not in English. But
I can post it on like general news when we're finished.
But anyway, all right. Enough with our digressing. We have, we're kind of talking a lot. Let's get on to the big kahuna right now. So let's begin talking about the main affairs for the night. It basically says that our main discussion of the night is the April Fool's joke on MicroWiki, so I think this will be definitely.
I'm gonna let you two discuss it because I actually know why we did.
I'm gonna screw the logo. Let's just actually do this.
What
but anyway,
the heck happened? What did you do?
I did everything. Anyway, let's. Oh, I'm on top now. This is weird. I don't like this. I'm gonna move the image bars around here. This isn't right. Suzuki, you have to be. Your image has to be like up front. This is weird. Okay, hold on a second. All right, there we go. Now we're now Nick's on top.
Now I'm on top.
All right. Yeah, there we go. Order has been restored to the world.
I'm not on top of the pyramid. I don't like this.
There we go. Now it's just as it should be.
Messing
Back
with
to how it
it. Punch.
Great. Okay, just for you.
In the
Anyway, all right, let's get on to the micronational news headlines. Since we basically have everybody here, since we have people in the chat interactive, and we're trying not to lose our entire audience in the first episode, let's actually do what the bloody stream says. All right, so let's get on to the top micronational news headlines for this week. Number one news headline, top of the thing is, what the hell happened to MicroWiki? Suzuki, you seem to know, so take it away. You're over here now.
So I want you guys to argue about what you think happened. Okay, I'll take it away.
That's what I think happened. I think the admins. It feels hard to say the ad. I love the Rip Suzuki in the chat. It's got a Rip Suzuki, Everyone, rest in peace. But I feel like what happened was the admins, and it feels so weird to say the admins when both literally two of us are actual admins. So it's so hard to talk about them objectively when you're part of the team. But I think that the easiest way to put it is I believe that the administration wanted to do something fun for this year. Last year there was a Thomas Cassidy death hoax, which I don't think that was the year before actually. The year before last there was a Thomas Cassidy death hoax. Last year I think they added gnomes. They gnomed the server. Basically every link redirected you to the gnome video. And then this year I think they're just trying to make it it's chromatic script. Thanks, Daniel. But yeah, so they changed the text. I think Nick, you probably have the most unbiased opinion on what this is. So Nick, what's your opinion on it?
I mean, the first year it was I still had no idea what was going on. Honestly, I had no idea, and so it's I get up, I open my Chromebook, there it is. John is arrested for tax evasion.
Can you put your face a little bit farther away from the mic? It's massive popping. And you're quiet as hell, dude. I'm sorry. Just the pop is real.
Well, it's 1:30 in the morning where me and him are at. So
I'm more just meant never mind. Just go back to what you were doing. It's fine. I don't think it matters. Sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting. Back to where you were.
That. And so it was holy crap. And then it's this whole April Fool's Day joke. So then we did a thing about geography now in Bondia Terra. And so it's always this fun thing where it's just everybody joking around, having a great sense of humor for a couple days, no matter what. Well, for one day, but it's no matter who you are, it's just funny. So that's my view on it.
I'm going to recommend that you actually just stick it as close to your mouth as you can again, because I'd rather have popping than having to.
So guys, and hey, I hate to interrupt the riveting conversation about this, but I just got a new news story from MicroWiki Discord. Apparently, Joseph Kennedy was removed as a wiki admin. He's no longer an admin.
That doesn't really surprise me because, it could be an April Fool's joke. But Joseph Kennedy really has not been doing his admin responsibilities for a very long time. And I think the only reason he's really held the position is because he was Prime Minister of Australasia forever. And, now that he left Australasia, I think he's kind of fallen from Jonathan's grace. Jonathan can sit here and say, oh, it was peacefully negotiated and everything, but he's still got to be upset about it. That was almost a third of his nature that is now gone.
Yeah.
All of his American territories are gone.
Well, except Bregisland. Bregisland's still here.
Well, Bregisland came after
no, we did.
New Virginia left.
No, it wasn't. Bregisland was founded back in March of 2019.
Really? Okay.
Around. Yeah. It just didn't. What happened was there's a lot of confusion because it didn't really become active for like January, and they became a crown dependency like a month ago. So it's like a lot of confusion.
Well, crown dependencies are kind of different in a way.
Yeah, it's like nominally.
Yeah. It's
anyway,
for like micronationalists who kind of want to be part of Australasia, but at the same time they want to rule their own thing. Like, you had New South Wales or New North Shetland or something.
There's already a New South Wales. It's in Australia, man.
Yeah,
that's a state.
You know what I mean.
I do not.
And so, and that was ruled by Charlotte Lindstrom. We know her as the leader of USCOR now. But a few years ago, it's like she also ruled this little sliver of Australasia, and one day she's just like, I want it. I rule USCOR, which was back then like Zealandia, I think, and I rule this little sliver. I'm just going to take this little sliver into Zealandia. And Jonathan is like, what? And, Jonathan and Charlotte, I don't think like each other to this day. And we're talking about something that happened 8 years ago. So it's like leaving Australasia, you're going to burn those bridges.
And the thing
even if it's negotiated, it's like, yeah.
Yes, he's still the Caesar. He's still the Caesar of the North American territories, which is just Bregisland at this point. So, and also Peach Pond. There's also Peach Pond, which just joined a couple days ago as a territory. In fact, they're officially joined today. Actually, they had a flag raising ceremony and stuff like in their little capital. So,
what are your thoughts on Kennedy? Monsieur.
I mean, Posoff had this
and something to let you guys know.
In 2018,
just let you guys know. Yeah. Also, sorry to interrupt you guys, but I just want to let you know I just talked to Joseph Kennedy, and he might be joining the stream soon. He might be joining us for this episode to discuss his termination. I'm talking to him.
Oh, man.
He said to give him a moment. He said to give him a moment, so he'll probably be joining the stream, at least watching it or something. So I feel like he'll be getting involved in just a moment. So
I have never had a good conversation with that man, so this is going to be interesting.
You're saying this live, dude. Remember this. I just want to point out, 2 of us are admins, all 3 of us are influential leaders. This is gonna come. This can either come back to make us, or this will come back to bite us in the ass hard. Like that Darlington Press interview I did back in 2018, where I made fun of. Made fun of. What's her name? That shit. Awesome. Anyway, back on topic. Nick, as you were saying about Justice Kennedy.
So I mean, like Posoff had this thing where, like we had this whole secessionist movement, and it was horrible. We were new. We had no idea, and it was like I never talked to him after it. So, I mean, no matter how peaceful you say it is, I just don't see a peaceful solution to it at all. There has to be a rift somewhere. It's just not. There's no way around it.
I mean, I would have to agree with Nick. I mean, Australasia, we often look at Jonathan as kind of this benevolent
God
figure, this guy who likes to have fun. He doesn't really take his role as the leader of the community seriously. That's what he wants us to think. It really is. At the heart of it, Jonathan he's very vain. He loves his position of authority that he has. He loves being the community. We are all under Australasian primacy. Whether we believe it or not, whether we're citizens of Australasia or not, we all in this community bow down to his grace. And he's not a bad person. It's not like we can sit here and say, because we have this overlord, you know, it must mean he's a bad person. He's not a bad person. He pretty much lets us do whatever we want. But to sit here and say that he doesn't care when his ego is slighted or when his empire is threatened is really I can't find the word here. I guess you're not the right way to think. I hate talking myself into corners.
Yeah, you're good, like, man. You remember. Hey, just completely forget the fact that you're live. Just forget about that.
Jonathan's a smart person. Jonathan got to where he is today because, unlike the rest of us, he was devoted to his micronation. He was devoted to conquest. He conquered MicroWiki. Somebody else owned it. He got the ownership. And he didn't just conquer MicroWiki. He conquered the fandom, too. He did both. Both. So he is the supreme ruler of the entire English-speaking micronational sphere. All of it.
Yep.
And
Kennedy's going to join us in 3 minutes. Kennedy's going to be on in 3 minutes, getting a coat.
But like, when you go against that, when you go try to create your own wiki, like Project Societies is trying to do, it's like, you're going after somebody who had spent his entire micronational career getting to the point where he's at now. And keep in mind, what Jonathan has accomplished in the community is more than any of us have ever accomplished, or will accomplish for that matter. The only way we could really accomplish what he did is if one of us took ownership of the wiki, which I
think that's an interesting proposal, and I do feel like Jonathan is doing a good. I think my opinion on like the whole thing is the problem with the wiki, and the problem with it is wiki politics, and it's apparent on every wiki. You got Wikipedia, fandoms, anything. There's going to be wiki politics, but the problem with MicroWiki, which makes it unique, is there's too much bias among a lot of the staff. Or like it's hard to separate Austinasia from MicroWiki because I'm fine with Jonathan owning the website. He owns it. He bought it. It's his property. That's what he does. It's not just him too. It's a lot. There's a really, especially with younger micronationalists, it's hard for people they don't realize that there is a difference between what the admins do on MicroWiki and what we do with our own nations. You'll do some, and it really hinders the ability to administer the site because everything you do is under constant scrupulations, constant, bashing things. I will take a moment real quick to go on a tangent. Austin Pat did ask a question in the comments here, or not asking Austin Pat, my apologies. Austin Pat made a joke saying Suzuki takes Jonathan out with an AK-47. But Daniel made a question asked to us. He asked, when do you think will be the end of Jonathan's reign on the MicroWiki sphere?
Probably I've actually talked to Jonathan about this. And it, because me and the man, we actually do have a lot of deep, intimate conversations about micronationalism and the community. And like Project Societies, I can tell you straight up, he hates Project Societies with a passion. And, this really was one of the reasons Aaron Lewis was removed as an admin. Because me and him both saw her as the real culprit for its rise. And Jonathan, he might seem benevolent to everybody else, but into his inner sphere, again, like I said, he is devoted to keeping the community as one. And when you see those splits, like with Project Societies, that makes him angry, and you will fall from grace. And we saw that happen, And not just Aaron, he gets mad at the entire Project Societies. Everybody in there, he's just like grumpy, which I can't blame him. I'm kind of grumpy too because it's like we had just, I had helped work with him on the Wiki-Wikia merger, and we had just finished that, and then this one fell. But as far as that, I've talked to him about, well, what happens when you get to an age where you want to retire? And he's like, well, I'll probably sell it, because I think he's the third or the fourth owner of MicroWiki.
Third.
And so, I told him, I'm like, well, if I'm still around, I'd be interested in buying it. And he's like, I'll consider it.
Same. Hey, if you're ever looking Suzuki, I hope I stay on your staff, because I hope when you buy it.
I mean, we're not talking about, oh, this will happen, next year or something. I mean, this might not happen for a long time. I mean, Pier, when she sold the MicroWiki, I mean, that was kind of I guess, a big deal. Nobody was expecting it. But it's like, I think that there had been many months, if not, a year or two of talk about, how that would go about. And I think there was a lot of people doubting Jonathan's ability, especially seeing as how, he had just gotten out of the Austronesian Civil War. He was still embroiled with Zealandia over New North Shetland. So it's like, Australasia definitely wasn't the pinnacle that it is today. So it doesn't need to take this grand micronationalist, this beacon of light, to inherit the MicroWiki. It really doesn't. What it needs is just somebody who is that ambitious to own it. And Jonathan at the time was the only one with that ambition. Again, like I said, we think of him as a benevolent person, but he is incredibly ambitious. He is incredibly vain. He is a wonderful community leader. We cannot sit here and say just because he's ambitious and vain doesn't mean he's not a good leader. He is. He's a very good leader. I don't think the MicroWiki would be as strong or stable as it is today without him. But as far as like when will he fall, that's it's not a matter of will he be overthrown. It's a matter of when will he get bored, or when will he say, I want to focus on my family. It's that's the question of when his reign will end, because that's the question of when Pierre's reign ended. Or I don't remember who owned it before Pierre. Sebastian, for some reason that comes up in my mind. But
it was Sebastian.
Okay, it was Sebastian. It's like, for them, they sold it not because they were like involved in some scandal. I mean, Sebastian was involved in the scandal years later, but it was because they were just tired. They wanted to move on, and that's probably what's going to happen with Jonathan. It's just he's obviously not tired yet. So, we might have his leadership for another decade or more. However, one side note, if anything was to happen to Jonathan, heaven forbid, the person who would actually own the MicroWiki after him would be Carl Frederick, the user Luxor. He's one of the tech admins. So he would be the most likely person to inherit the wiki after Jonathan, especially in the event of something bad happening. And that's a verifiable fact. I'm not just pulling that out of my ass. I've actually talked to them on the admin chat, because I was curious what would happen if this happened. And Jonathan's like, Carl would be in charge. And then Carl's like, yep, I would be in charge. I was like, weird. I didn't know there was a contingency plan.
I mean, it's a smart idea for him to have a contingency plan since this is his actual property. You know, Micro is his property as an entity. If he didn't have a plan, you know, it would probably go back to our glorious owners at, you know, what is it? What's the company that owns Wikipedia? Whatever, they're the company that owns MicroWiki. You know, we use their software and stuff. So if we didn't have a
starts with a B. It's like BD something. I just know their logo is a big B and a big
we're owned by the same guys. Yeah, we're owned by the same corporate masters that do Wikipedia. That's what I find funny is that we are a wiki, you know, a Wikipedia-esque wiki. We're not like
we're a true Wikipedia type site. We're not a fandom.
God, I hate fandom. God.
Because the original MicroWiki that I had joined in 2012 was gone when I tried to re-enter the community. Because I tried to re-enter the community in 2015. I couldn't find the MicroWiki, so I ended up on the fandom for a whole year thinking that that was the site that I had been on back in 2012. And it took me an entire year to realize that it wasn't the right site.
And if you look at if you guys want to look at the chat, thanks for pointing it out, Austin Pat, that that Wiki owned it before Pierre for the ownership of the Wiki. It was first, you know, made. But yeah, I know the funny thing about Micro is, like, you know, it was originally made just for one nation. It was meant as a deposit of information just for that one, you know, group. Yeah. I think that's quite funny, at least in my opinion. I think that I think it's funny. I don't know. I think it's funny at least. I'm vain in that.
I feel so bad. We've just poor Nicholas has been so left out.
Yeah, Nicholas, you know what? All this time is dedicated to you, Nicholas. Go. Hit it, man. Go, Nikki.
Would you quit messing with the pictures?
Well, it's a pilot episode, my guy.
I'm gonna punch you.
Not if I punch me first. Yeah, I'm by the way, something funny real quick, just on a lighthearted note, since we're, you know, this is a good talk. We're trying on the Discord, since I'm the only person who can read at this point. We're actually starting to get complaints about the asking if we can undo the April Fool's joke. And I'm just sitting over here like, oh, I'm not a tech admin, dude. I'm sorry, I can't do crap.
Yeah, I'm not a tech admin either, so yeah.
Oh wait,
no.
Talk to
yeah. Okay. Well, since that subject has been raised, why don't?
Yep. Since we're waiting for a couple of minutes, we're waiting for we're waiting for good old Joseph Kennedy to join the
Join you? Oh, I thought this was collective effort.
God damn it. No, what I meant was to join the podcast. So we're waiting for Joseph Kennedy to join the podcast. He's getting his tech stuff set up. He's going through the same problems we went through, you know, when you were joining. I think Suzuki, same problems you went through. You're trying to join the cast.
Tell him to use Google Chrome and not to plug his speakers in. So okay.
Anyway.
Let's listen to Nicholas, because we keep cutting him out because we're a bunch of assholes.
What am I going to talk about? John owning the wiki. I mean, he has a fiance, so his future from there, like them getting married, is really about them. And so, I mean, I really think before we hit, like, maybe in the next 5 years, he might sell it to somebody, because, I mean, he might want to start a family. You never know. And it's like, I don't think it's something that he really wants to maintain, and he doesn't get a lot of donations in every month. So it's if there are other important things in life, he might want to just worry about that. And I think he'll remain active, and he'll be known as like a big figure, but he won't be the biggest, and he won't be the owner. Of course, he'll pass the torch on to somebody else.
I don't think that's going to be the case, and here's why. So everybody else here that has a girlfriend, you know, can probably attest that, you know, their intimate others don't really give two shits about micronationalism. You know, my former VP Brock Thompson, he came back for a few months, and it was like, late last year, we were starting to revive. My micronation looked like it was going to have something. And then at the end of January, he got a girlfriend who hated micronationalism, and he was kind of forced out of it. But Hannah runs her own micronation. She's definitely involved. And, and Jonathan, he inherited Australasia from his father.
Yeah.
That's not something a lot of us can claim to have inherited.
Yeah. And I want you guys to, by the way, say hello to, be sure to say hello to Joseph Kennedy real quick. Hey, Kennedy.
Hey, Ken.
See if he's working.
Joey Kendall's working.
Oh, there he is. All right, there's the correct one. Oh, bloody hell!
Well,
come on.
Mess with the.
All right. So what happened was it was working for about a split second, and then all of a sudden.
Don't you hate those all of a suddens?
All right, so let's wait for Kenny to try one time. But anyway, let's wrap this little section up so Kenny, so we can get back on Kenny's things. He's gonna want to be like the one to talk and discuss. Okay. There we go. So Kenny's ready to join. All right, show and stream. Okay. Kenny's on in 3 seconds.
Show the frickin' faces, because nobody wants to just see frickin' Jesus up on the throne. They want to see our faces.
Right.
Hello.
True.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hey, Ken. Nitty.
Oh shit! Now I can't hear anything.
Oh, for the love of God.
Can I be heard?
Yes, you can be heard. We got you. We got you, Kennedy.
Wow, I can definitely tell you're from Kentucky.
Jesus.
That is an accent.
This is not good. This is not good at all. It was working, then now it's not. Fuck, I'm
for goodness sake.
Hold up.
Oh God, is he having the same problems we're having? I swear.
Well, we can hear him. So.
Yeah, okay.
Tell him to unplug if he has headphones on. Unplug the headphones.
Okay.
Because remember that was with you. Would you stop moving the cameras? I'm gonna murder you.
All right. Is it functioning now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can
hear us.
Absolutely marvelous. Hey. I can hear all of you.
Miracle. It's a miracle.
I'd show myself, but like I haven't shaved in a couple of days, and this garage is really dirty.
Take a look at Suzuki. You're good, man. Don't worry. I mean, most of us are just recording, and I mean, we're kind of recording. I don't think it really matters much, your background. You're good, man. Hey, well, welcome.
So is this one of those podcasts where we can be vulgar?
Yeah, don't worry. It's not safe. This is rated no on the. Is this meant for kids? It is not. This is meant for micronational.
I mean, I said asshole earlier, but that's pretty much as vulgar as I usually get. So
I say fuck a lot. So there you go. We're trying to keep some professionalism as well. If you can cuss as much as you want, man.
All right, that is that's marvelous. How's everyone doing?
We're doing pretty good.
Awkward.
All right, that's Nick. But anyway, we're all doing pretty good. We were just discussing you, and we were discussing the future of the MicroWiki. Post Jonathan, we were getting some questions from our chat. Some people were asking us questions about how long do you think Jonathan's going to stay in charge and like that. But we're doing pretty good. I'm doing good, at least. You guys doing good?
I'm doing good.
I had homemade tacos today.
That's Free Taco Tuesday at Taco Bell.
It appears Leon.
Oh, it is Tuesday.
This is a hot take, especially coming from a bigger guy such as myself. But tacos are garbage, and you should feel bad for eating them.
Oh, they're homemade. They're not like freaking Taco Bell, bro.
I mean, I've had a homemade taco before. Don't mean I like them.
All right. Well, you know what?
I don't like beef, so like I'm kind of weird like that. But
he likes his Kentucky Fried Chicken.
The topic was our dear overlord, His Imperial Majesty. And I suppose I'm a pretty good guy to give some input on that, seeing as I led his government for 5 years.
Yeah, that's about right. I mean, the only way we could get better is if we brought Jonathan himself on. Honestly, that'd be funny.
Well, Jonathan wouldn't do that
I'm
because,
glad I
again,
could
he's
help.
trying to do a benevolent field of
I've been trying to get a phone call.
like I was saying earlier, and I think Joseph can probably back me up on this. I keep pointing over because I keep trying to point at the black box that Joseph's in, but I got to remember it's a mirror. It's over here.
Hey, high five.
Well,
high
from
five.
my perspective, I am down, completely separated from your boxes.
There you go. I'm gonna pick your nose, Nick.
Welcome to MicroRamble, guys.
Yeah, this is
So my take on Jonathan.
This kind of sends me back to when I was still a spry young teenage micronationalist, leading the Ashikov Federation, and we had Ashukast, which was our own podcast. It was me, who else? I think Edward Jacobs was there. Jonathan, we brought Jonathan in on the first episode as a guest, but then like he was the only person who could get the recording software to work that we were using at the time over the Skype calls, so he was a permanent fixture from then on.
If that isn't the definition of what Jonathan is, I don't know what else is. Joins as a guest.
And we just fucking regurgitated really shitty, edgy 2014 memes. Me especially, with my squeaky, fucking, barely pubescent voice. And it was, God, the tapes are still out there on SoundCloud, and I'm glad everyone has forgotten about it.
Please send those to me.
Well, now that you say it, we're gonna look it up.
We're gonna find that.
Fuck off.
We're gonna play it next episode.
No, we're not. All right. Anyway, let's
actually, hell, go ahead and do it if you wanna poke some fun at the air quotes old guard. That'd be a good time.
Okay. So
micronational version
going
of
back
old guard
to
means you're over the age of 20. You're old guard.
So trying to go back to the topic, so we were talking about kind of how Jonathan got to where he is today and what the future for him will be. And we also kind of want to talk about your career.
And yeah, we also I also heard also the headline that you got taken. I heard that you got taken off of the Wiki administration. That was like the big thing we want to discuss with you. Like what your side of the story is. You can get that out there. Make your piece.
When it comes to my spot as a Wiki admin, I didn't find out that I wasn't an admin until earlier today or yesterday at some point. I was trying to move a page over, change the name of it, which before, I was an admin. No fucking deal. I could do it like that. But then it hit me with you need admin approval for this. And I was like, what? So I went to the front page, and sure enough, I was not listed as a Wiki admin anymore. And
was it like an April Fool's joke? I mean,
no, I don't believe so, because I went through page history and I was removed as an admin weeks ago. And I just, be it a testament to my lack of spare time, or you could spin it to say, oh, he's not in touch with the community, whatever. I just hadn't noticed. Because any time I have for micronationalism now, it does not go to the community. Like, I just led the largest mass secession in the history of Australasia, and
Jonathan's not happy about that.
Oh, for God's sake! Another dumbass made a Soviet.
Jonathan is fine with it. Since the secession, everything has been perfectly cordial. I maintained all of my noble titles. I'm still an Austronesian Caesar. I'm still the Emperor's deputy in North America, and I took my place on the Senate. And I'm still Jonathan's. I'm still his chief advisor. Which there were no hard feelings with New Virginia leaving the Empire. It was completely done on good terms, and that's something that with splits like this you can't usually say. So I'm thankful that it's worked out the way it has.
I know through because this is something that I mentioned a few times before you came on. was that my interpretation of Jonathan was that at heart he is egotistical and very ambitious. And I had thought that maybe your removal as a wiki admin may have had something to do with that. I wasn't sure.
I can't comment on that. Number one, Jonathan is to this day a very close friend of mine. So I
right.
will not.
He's a
I
close
won't
friend of
say
mine
anything.
too.
I won't say anything negative about him. But I don't know where this decision came from, and if the decision to remove me was made by him, and it
I
was done
mean,
without addressing me first, then that was a poor decision.
Yeah, I feel like
And
it
I
probably
would
had to
tell
be
you.
him. Kind of feel like it kind of
sometimes
had to be him though, because none of the other wiki admins were informed, as far as I know. Because I'm also a wiki admin. I don't think none of us were. He didn't, memo. He didn't. No one else knew about this. So as far as I know, if I could, make a theory real quick, if I may.
Go right ahead.
I think this I brought this up in an interview I did on the Charlington Press a year or so ago, talking about the admin team. Yeah, that one video I made about admins that.
Oh, that fucking classic. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, not that. That's not my opinion. I know I regret that video. I was such a fucking edgelord. I just wanted to get views, honestly.
Oh
I
my
regret that. I'm
god,
sorry.
all of us in the fucking supposed higher rung of society harumphed many a harumph and twirled our fucking monocles to that one.
Yeah. Well, hey, at least you saw it, so I guess I achieved what I wanted. But
You
anyway,
got the publicity, yeah.
yeah, that didn't help when the OM collapsed. Like what, 2 months later? But anyway, yeah. Anyway, so my opinion is I think one of the reasons why you were removed is you've been removed like a few other wiki admins. I think a lot of it has to do with inactivity, because I know since me and Zed were brought and Jonathan I've talked to, and he said that in public. I'm not really going to talk about what he said in private, but in public he has mentioned that he has had some disdain towards the admin team that has been, or that he's seen at least as being like inactive or otherwise not doing much. He's been relatively against that. But
and
what
and this
when
would be where the part of Jonathan that the community really doesn't see comes into play.
yeah, because
Jonathan wants to run the entire English-speaking micronational sphere.
not
The
just English
fandom,
speaking either.
the wiki. He wants project societies. Make no doubt, he wants it. Me and him have talked about it. I kind of want to bring it back just because it would be cool if it was all united and peaceful and loving and stuff. I
Well,
know there's some
yeah.
assholes in there, but
No, it wouldn't. That's a horrid vision that
You
uh,
the
can't.
most
Yeah,
base principle of micronationalism, which is a celebration of self-determination and individualism, at least in my eyes.
literally, yeah. What you suggested, literally word for word, brought down the OEM. The combine them all into one big state. Unify them all together. That literally was what James Ellis did or tried to do,
no,
and that imploded the OEM. And it
Jonathan's
did.
not trying to create one state. He's realized something that none of the other micronationalists seem to have figured out, is that you can rule a lot of micronations without having to be their ruler. Look
Well,
at the United States. Look at the United States. How much influence does the United States have around the world? I would say the United States practically owns half the world.
The Middle East.
And yet, we're limited to
the thing about
North
that is
America as first territory.
the thing about that
That
is
is
I don't even.
Jonathan. Jonathan is the United States of micronationalism.
The
His
thing about that
influence.
is I don't think that a comparison to the U.S. is really necessary because with micronationalism with this community, 90% of the nations you'll come across are gonna be one dude. You know,
Republican
it's
Dave.
it's really easy to rope in one dude and have it as a as a vassal state. But like you have nations like Australasia, where you have maybe 10 to 20 active politicians, and that's what that impression of this
Yes.
large state. And the
And
thing about Australasia is that once you get outside of Parliament, none of those politicians listed on that wiki page do a damn thing. Not a single one, unless you have the rare governor like under my government, Carl Friedrich, known as the Lord Temporal of Mercia. He was a member of my cabinet. But most governors and most governing commissioners don't do a damn thing.
Yeah, I can at least agree with you on that one. I mean, Bregisland, I feel like we do something kind of like we're trying to make that. Like I told you before. I think I talked to you about it. I also talked to the Prince or what. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. The Prime Minister of Bosnia now. I talked to him, about building that one governors organization. To bring governors and governors together to actually bring some fucking activity.
I mean, this is kind of how I figured out what Jonathan's whole idea, because for him, sphere of influence is what he believes is power. And make no mistake, Australasia has a far greater sphere of influence than any micronation possibly in history. And here's how I came about it is because, when I proposed the wiki fandom merger, and this was like months before like the Discord, or even before Jonathan owned the fandom. Jonathan didn't even own the fandom at the time. I proposed it, and a lot of people are like, yeah, it's a good idea, but there's just so many differences, or, oh, well, the fandom's full of immature people, or, there's a lot of, yeah, it's a good idea.
Sorry to cut you off, but a quick question. When you say the fandom, I'm a little behind on
the Wikia
terminology. The Wikia.
Yeah.
Yeah, they renamed themselves. They renamed themselves to Micronations Fandom in the last year because Jonathan basically told him up just said, do it, or I don't know what he threatened him with. He threatened him with something, and they finally agreed to change it to Micronations Fandom instead of Wikia.
Okay. But so, I recall and that. Everybody was kind of like, yeah, good idea, wouldn't work in practice when I proposed it. The one person who was like, can we do this, was Jonathan, and he approached me and he's like, do you think we can do this? I'm like, yeah. He's like, how would it work? And I'm like, well, the wiki seems to be the best place. We still have the forums and everything. And I'm like, we're losing people to Skype. This is before a lot of people started going to Discord. And I'm like, we do need new members. And there's a lot of people in the fandom, maybe not as many as the wiki. And
I think Suzuki.
Hello?
Hello.
I'm here.
Hello?
Suzuki just got cut off.
Hello?
There you go. He's back. He's back on. Sorry, there was a error for a second. Suzuki, you're back.
Oh, okay. So anyway, what I was saying is, Jonathan.
Yeah, the only one I can hear is old Charlie boy.
Suzuki, Suzuki. Can you hear Suzuki now?
I can hear everybody, so I don't know what's going on.
Still just you.
God
hold up, I'm going to exit out real quick. I'll be right back.
Oh, God, not this again.
Listen, it's not my fault this technology is garbage.
No, it's called Charles keeps moving the screens around.
Hold on. All right, Nick, can you hear Suzuki?
No. Oh, yes, now.
All right. Now we
and
did.
Bada bing, bada boom, it's working.
Do not mess with the screens. I will straight up murder you in your sleep. And I'm not going to murder you all nice with like a pillow. I'm going to make it brutal.
But what if I murder myself first?
I'm going to use grape juice.
This is.
What if But what if I murder myself first?
Oh, no, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about Charles.
Oh, okay. Hey, you
Get in
know
line,
something
Suzuki. There's a lot of people that want to murder me. You obviously haven't seen that photo on the MicroWiki Discord that one guy posted.
Don't make me join Folkland.
Listen,
don't do that, man. Don't do me like this.
You want to hear something that's pretty cool? You
What?
know what's legal in New Virginia?
Prostitution.
Pot.
What?
Saying the F word.
Word.
Drinking grape juice while high.
That has to be illegal.
Catching the coronavirus.
Taking fat fucking ribs while you have asthma, bro.
Sure, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Kennedy, so I gotta be honest with you on something.
With me?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
I figured out where you live. Not the exact address. I figured out within about 500 yards. There's like a group of like 10 or 15 houses that I'm like, could be one of those.
That's cool.
And well, you know how I figured it out.
I'm not afraid of that because I happen to live in a glorious little slice of country known as the American South. And I have several high-powered rifles on my possession. So anyone is willing to make an unannounced tourist trip to New Virginia, and you will be shot dead in the street like a dog.
Joseph, are you single-handedly the entire New Virginian Army?
Kentucky has a stand your ground law.
I
could be wrong.
Joseph Kennedy is Border Patrol.
Part of the New Virginian Army. No. So far, we have one soldier, and that is my older brother.
Is New Virginia kind of like a Republican version of Australasia? It kind of seems like that's like what it is in terms of like structure, like Republican Australasia.
New Virginia, what I'm going for with New Virginia is everything I wanted Australasia to be by the end of my term, minus the flaws that I noticed in the Austronesian political system.
Ooh, some flaws. What do we got? Gimme.
That was like the whole idea.
Well, the system, the Austronesian system was absolutely designed to allow for an extremely overpowered head of state. If Australasia were a republic, it would be classified by academic sources as an example of super presidentialism. In no constitutional monarchy in the real world, more like Russia or Belarus.
God, don't even bring up Belarus.
Regime or anything. I mean, Australasia, for the most part, does have a pretty good track record for civil liberties, minus the same-sex marriage thing, but I won't get into that.
Just saying, it kind of seemed like civil liberties didn't really seem to apply back during the Civil War, when Caroline was thrown into prison, by the government.
When that happened, I was in 6th or 7th grade, and I'd never heard of micronationalism outside of fucking Kick-Assia. So I have
I have another. Yes, God bless you, Kennedy. Literally, you just mentioned what got me into micronationalism. Kick-Assia.
Hey, nice to meet another one. Sorry it was something so shitty and garbage that did it. Fuck Channel Awesome.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Hey, we got another channel. I hate Channel Awesome, but only thing I'm sad though, I can't watch it because every time I watch it, I see Spoonie, I see Noah Antweiler, and I see Jew Wario, and both of them make me sad seeing both those guys.
I just hear the name Spoonie and I think of extremely uncomfortable rape jokes made on Twitter.
God, Obscurus. I feel bad for Obscurus Lupa. And that whole shit.
Obscurus Lupa and Nostalgia Chick did nothing wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, back on to micronationalism. If I wanted to watch a rant on Channel Awesome, I'd go watch Mr. Medicare. Let's get back on topic. But
hey, this is called MicroRamble for a reason. Also, I'm reading the
chat.
the chat.
Yeah, public.
People are gonna make
podcast.
memes of my face now. This is gonna be great. I'm gonna love it. Please make memes and gifs of me. Please,
at us.
please, please.
Hey, guess what? Congratulations, you're now the micronational Rush Limbaugh. Hope you enjoy that.
Oh,
Please,
What's he gonna
Suzuki.
do
I
next?
wouldn't.
Get
Suzuki, don't do
fucking
that.
cancer?
Suzuki, stop doing that. You know that's gonna come back to bite you in the ass. Someone's gonna meme this entire chat.
There's this fucking meme I saw. It's just a picture of Rush Limbaugh in the 90s, and it has like the classic fucking, icon has cheeseburger, top text, bottom text font, and it says, claims to be pro-life, is dying. And that shit geeked me so fucking hard.
I love the comment, by the way, that said when Channel Awesome used to be relevant. That's great. Thank you, Austin. Thank you to the fans. Thank you to the five
Thanks,
fans.
Austin Pat. I don't know who you are, but nice
It's
to
Jax.
meet you, friend.
It's Jax. Iestus.
Kennedy, the topic that you had brought up that I wanted to discuss before Charles derailed, go figure, was, what are some of the flaws that you noticed in Austronesian Parliament?
what I wanted to
or
well, like
rule
I
of
said,
government.
I just wanted to know why you seated.
Like I said, the possibility that is exploited to this day for the head of state, the monarch, to sort of just be incredibly overpowered. And the Constitution was specifically written that way. A lot of Austronesian history was orchestrated, and I'm only going to say what's public, what is publicly known facts, like the War of Orleans and Unification.
Everyone
the
knows
one that
that
never happened.
Yeah, everyone knows about that one, but I know. I remember you bring back nostalgia. Remember like watching that on like the daily Horatio Eden's show. Daily Micronational. Like we talked about the
I
old.
remember watching those. Those were the best.
But
I've never watched them. I don't even know what the War of Unification is. I'm gonna be straight up and down there.
It's when Jonathan faked an invasion of Australasia so he could take the crown back.
This is what MicroWiki is for. So
that is true.
I don't read other people's articles. People are like, "Oh, I've read your articles," and I'm like, "Really,
dude? Why are you making articles if not for people to read them? Don't be one of those nations that's completely based around
just wrote my article.
I mean, one of the main reasons that I write.
Yes, Mark.
But
can you repeat that, Nick?
Anyways,
I just finished my article. You have to read it if it's your first one.
Guys, back to Kennedy. He's kind of the guy. The reason we're having this. So back to.
Yeah, apparently I'm the reason. That makes me feel special. Especially the fact that the head of state has a veto that cannot be overruled. It was publicized when the civil unions bill failed that I presented. That was pretty widely publicized, but the articles were wrote by Jonathan, so a lot of details were left out. And I was going to write an editorial explaining my position, but I also work a full-time job and I stay pretty tired, and I have a very active social life outside of micronationalism. So when I'm not working, I'm usually with my friends, making music or going out and hiking, doing stuff like that. And I usually have maybe 3 hours a week I can put into micronationalism. And a lot of the time, and it's been this way for a couple of years now, I haven't wanted to, write news articles. That's one thing I've had to get over with New Virginia is I have to be the journalist now. But that's besides the point. My perspective on that bill failing wasn't made public. And one thing that wasn't really publicized in the articles that were released is that before is that after the bill passed the House of Representatives and was due to go to the monarch for imperial consent, we knew that Jonathan was going to turn it down. So some of my political allies in the Senate, which if you don't know anything about Austronesian politics, the Senate isn't an upper house. It is a completely independent branch of the government consisting of like the consuls and former consuls, former prime ministers, Caesars, Augusta, all of these very high-ranking ceremonial officials and retired officials who hold their position there, usually ex officio.
I never heard of this. I'm a freaking consul for Arizona. I never heard of this shit.
You've never heard of the Austronesian consulship?
Oh, the consulship. Sorry, I was thinking of something different. Yeah, I've heard of that one. Sorry.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what
I
I
have
was
a noble
referring to.
title in Austronesian, apparently, like that. Actually, I can do something with it if I wanted to, but I don't.
I mean, I'm
do
a
jack
duke.
shit with it.
I do not.
I was made a duke and a commander in the Order of Austranasia. So I mean, become a
Yeah.
governing commissioner.
I mean,
of a
I have
colony
the Order of Austranasia too.
We all do.
I
I'm
have
literally a
nothing,
deputy
so
emperor.
that's
Y'all
kind
can
of
stop
sucks for
flexing
me.
your Austronesian titles now. I am a Caesar.
I'll call you when I need someone on my
I have
salad.
nothing.
But anyways,
I have nothing. Literally nothing.
You're
well,
post.
you're something to me. You're
You
very
haven't worked
special
hard
to me.
enough.
Yeah, you joined in like
Um,
what, late 2018, noob. All right,
Noob.
that's still relevant, right?
Yeah, I
We're cool with
actually
the
don't
kids.
think we've ever spoke before. So,
I think this is the first time that me and you have spoken to each other that it hasn't ended up in a sling fest.
Yeah, I have a very vague memory of our interactions in the past, but none of them were really positive from what I recall.
Well, this is the first time I've called you that wasn't absolutely being annoying. So anyway, back on topic. We do have to get back.
We had a topic?
But yes,
I have a question.
the Senate, which is an independent, completely independent branch of government, which is responsible for holding the monarch accountable. It's supposed to give advice to the monarch, which, according to the Constitution, is not binding, but that any monarch should willingly follow, something along those lines. And the Senate has the power to enact senatorial resolutions which formally impart the advice of the Senate on the monarch. And they have the power to, under very special circumstances, declare a regency or even depose the monarch. And the first
Hey,
thing that
Suzuki,
the
the memes
Senate
are coming.
did,
The memes have
the
been made.
first thing the Senate,
Crap.
Check
the first thing the
Dullahan.
Senate ever did
Check Dullahan.
in its period of existence, after like I think 2 years of existing, was released a resolution advising Jonathan, hey, don't decline to consent this. It would be bad. It would lead to division. And he sent the Senate a letter back, which at the time I was not a member of the Senate, so I wasn't directly involved in that resolution. I supported it when some senators came and told me about it, but it wasn't my idea. I just witnessed it. Jonathan sent them a letter back, basically saying, "We appreciate your advice, but no." And so he declined it because yada yada, magnificent, glorious Christian empire, yada yada. And I sent Jonathan a letter in response, part of which is now available to the public. The private matters of it I won't get into, but basically, it came down to fuck. I lost track for a second there. Give me a moment. It is 2:30 in the morning here, and I've been up since 8 a.m.
Sam, I've been up since 6, so I feel you, man.
Yeah, but you're in Arizona.
It's midnight, so.
Mm-hmm. It's 2:30 for the
Eastern
rest of us.
Standard Time gang here.
What?
Yeah, 3 of us are Eastern Standard Time.
I'm Mountain Standard, boy.
We have it so much better time zone that
Garbage
Go suck a
time zone.
cactus.
UTC
I will.
-5 is the only real time zone. This is an American world.
So
Fuck
Nicholas
America,
says that he has
Arizona
a
is
question.
king.
Nicholas says he has a question. He's being quiet because people are sleeping. So
I had a question. It's like, what do you think about the new prime minister? Because from what I've heard, he is somewhat controversial, and there are things about him that, like, I know that not everybody knows. Apparently, I think I have no idea actually. But what are your views on him?
My opinions on Prince Dionysi are pretty well public knowledge at this point, but just to rephrase what I've said before when I've been asked the question, my biggest regret. Oh my God, I can't speak.
How much did you have to drink tonight?
That's gonna be a sound bite. My biggest regret in leaving the premiership the way I did is that it paved the way for two of the worst candidates I've ever seen in Austinasian history to be the potential future successor to my legacy.
I think that you set yourself up for that, though.
Perhaps
and
I
here's
did.
why. You had been in power for so long that nobody was prepared to take up that position. This happened to me in my micronation when I'm like, I don't want to be leader anymore. And I stepped down, and Matthew Perry became leader. And he was leader for not even a month. And he's just like, this is a disaster. You need to, we have a break glass emergency protocol called Plan 187. And he contacted me directly. He's like, you need to initiate this. You need to take back control. Because it's like he had lost almost everybody, Charles.
That one wasn't me.
Okay. But so, that's what happens when you have a leader who's leader for so long. Is the next person in line is not going to be as good. They're just not.
Yes. Same thing
that's
happened.
Nobody had been trained to be a leader. Nobody had, been preparing themselves to lead. So yeah,
Well,
you set yourself up for that. That's the
disagree
truth.
with that. I disagree with that because Dionysi absolutely set himself up to lead. Absolutely set himself up to lead. If you go back through the news articles between when I announced my retirement back in September up until the election, you will just see countless annexations done through Eastern Europe down into Anatolia, who were Dennis bringing his friends, bringing his family members in. Dennis has, besides being prime minister, like 3 or 4 local political titles.
No, just because he wanted the leadership doesn't mean he was ready for the leadership. There's a difference. I may want to rule the world. Well, does that mean I'm good to rule the world?
You made Pandover, so yeah.
I'm not saying Dionysi is an incompetent statesman either. He's a very talented statesman. He's been the prime minister of Lost Island for several years, and that is a very successful nation. You say what you will about them, they are a very successful nation. Pavlov, for all of its wacky and goofy quirks and all of its sheer unabashed edge, was a very well constructed nation. He is an excellent leader. The point is, where the problems begin is that the two candidates who were poised to take the office of prime minister after I announced my retirement. One was an Austinasian politician who, throughout his entire career, the only thing that I can recall him ever accomplishing was getting a bill through the House that made the day that Jonathan and his girlfriend got engaged a national holiday. And he's been an Austinasian for, I think, a year and a half, 2 years longer than me. He's never accomplished anything. He's never won an election outside of running for representative of his town. where he's the only candidate. He can't accomplish much. And on the other hand, you have this very ambitious man.
So I would argue then that if that's the case, and this would be my other point, is that you would base
You're losing Nick.
someone else's legacy based on how you would handle it if you were still in power.
I think my legacy in that office is built entirely on the accomplishments I made while I was in that office. Because I did leave Australasia a much more well structured and democratic state than I left it before. For example, before I assumed that office, cabinet ministers were appointed by the monarch on their own advice. I pushed through a constitutional amendment that changed that. I introduced the Government Accountability Act, which means that once a year, Parliament has to release a full gazette of all debate records, all speeches, all votes on all acts. And ministries are expected to, every 6 months, release a full report of their inner workings. And we introduced Prime Minister's questions from the British system. And all of these things did... they made government more transparent and more accountable, because before, the Austronesian government was kind of... It was very secretive. Keeping up with the whole image of this great and powerful empire, this micro Rome.
Well,
So
again, that's just Jonathan's
I wouldn't give him
leadership
micro Rome.
style.
I give him micro Byzantium max.
Yeah, they definitely want to be the Byzantine Empire.
I mean, I will say it.
I think that's funny, because Falkland's part of the APRE. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I will say it as many times until it sinks in. Jonathan is ambitious.
Absolutely.
I mean, every decision he makes in Australasia, in the micro-wiki sphere, the gum, everything he does is pre-calculated. He is Emperor Palpatine. He's already planning 10 moves ahead when we're only planning one move.
Of course his moves are going to be pre-calculated. If you don't pre-calculate your place for power, then you're an idiot.
Yeah,
that's not a statement in and of itself, really.
He already knows what he's going to do with Australasia in the next 5 years. He already knows what he's going to do with the MicroWiki the next 5 years. And if you notice, people who get in his way, they're not necessarily... He doesn't make a scene about it. But they don't resurface. And he makes it that way. Because he owns everything. The only thing he doesn't own is, in the English sphere, is project societies. And I've talked with him about that, and he is...
your country, and there's a lot of things he doesn't own in the sphere.
Sphere of influence. I'm talking about sphere of influence.
There's a lot
He
of
can silence your voice, he can silence my voice, he can silence Nicholas's voice quite easily.
He owns the bloody server. Of course he does.
Yeah, we communicate through the Discord.
Now we're communicating through an independent source, so we can't.
I mean,
why do you get the feeling
I'm not saying he'll ever attempt to silence me, but he can't silence me, and he knows damn well he can't silence me. So,
but we would have to agree that if he was to remove you from everything associated with the MicroWiki, it would be very difficult for any dissent you have against him to be made public to the rest of us. If we were still in the community and you got kicked out by Jonathan, we'd all pretty much be in the dark about what you and New Virginia are doing.
If in this hypothetical,
that is the power Jonathan has that we fail to realize.
I hate to
Sandus.
interrupt, but there's a question for Joseph here, Joey. Austin Pat Jackson or Austin Pat asks at TVT and PBC. Question for Joey: do you have any concerns over Dynasties' fascist tendencies?
I've kind of made it apparent that I do. I don't think he's a fascist. I don't think he's a fascist. I think he's an absolute monarchist.
Yeah, I'd have to
An
agree with
absolute
that.
monarchist who supports a strong autocrat at the top
yes,
of
he is.
the system,
He is.
and then direct democracy for the bottom. Which, say what you will about its similarities with fascism and the on paper concept of how the corporations in a fascist society would work. He's not. I don't believe he's a fascist. I don't believe he's a racist either.
I've had
What I do believe
conversations.
is that he is an anti-democrat. I believe that
He is. He is
he
100%.
absolutely
I've had
despises.
conversations with him before, and it's
He
scary.
I believe he absolutely despises the Western system of democracy, of representative democracy, which I, for my term, tried my best to build and to foster and to make Australasia a shining example to the community that this style of democracy can work in a micronation, because it usually ends very poorly. I wanted to prove that this form of government can work in a small country, and that is still one of my biggest goals with New Virginia.
I mean, and I would say that would be a great legacy to leave behind, because it's like, I know with me, I led a successful republic for, well, I know I was around for 8 years, but I think I was the leader of it for 5. The first 8 years we were a republic. We were a very successful republic, but then, the next 7 years have just been shit. Shit on a shingle. Horrible. And, I've kind of tossed around ideas for governments, trying to re-energize, and I'm looking at the Australasian system more and more, and I'm like, this isn't bad. It works.
Oh no,
It's
the
not the
Australasian system
unitary
of government
state
is
I
very
want. I want a
effective.
unitary state. I don't want an empire. I don't want a federation. But I'm just like, the more I look at it, the more I'm like, I'd have to concede to, to the demons of a federal system
Well,
if I want a working
Australasia
micronation. And that is on you.
Australasia is not a
That's
federal
your
system.
thing. Empire implies federational status.
It
A
may
federation is
imply
just
that, but
multiple states that
it
have
may imply that
semi-autonomous.
but if you know anything about how the Australasian system of local governance works, Australasia is absolutely a unitary state. That's why the populated subdivisions which send representatives to parliament aren't called states or provinces. We're called cities and towns, because we have, well, in Australasia they have, um, you know towns and cities are governed by town and city councils, which can pass bylaws, but consistently through Australasian history, bylaws have only been things like, in reality, it's just the people who live in a house or a group of houses making collective decisions about how daily life should work and setting rules for the property. You know, like when New Virginia, well, when New Richmond legalized cannabis, that was more of just an exception. That, at the time I was like 17 or 18, that was more of just accepting that, like, my dad was like, well, I don't like that you're smoking, but you can go smoke in the garage, just don't stink up the house. That is the degree of autonomy that cities and towns have in Australasia. They are not separate states forming together into one union of states in a federal system. Now,
I feel like it
crown
could be argued though.
dependencies,
it could be argued that crown dependencies are more akin to states. I mean, like I'm gonna take Bregisland for example. We're
but you
based on Hong
also
Kong,
don't have a vote in Parliament.
but there's kind of a distinct difference. We're kind of like the weird thing about crown dependencies, and I feel like this is the case in many of the dependencies, they don't need Australasia. Most of us join Australasia simply either for the reason of saying, hey, look, we're part of Australasia, or in Bregisland's case, to kind of fit like our historical references to Hong Kong, being part of Britain. But
Well,
I don't know. I feel
you're
like
you're doing you're doing something with Bregisland that I initially did with New Virginia. I don't New Richmond. I don't know how much you know about New Richmond's history,
not
but
much actually.
New Richmond started as a crown dependency that was modeled off of the colonial era Dominion of Virginia, or colony of Virginia, whatever you want to call it. We had a House of Burgesses. You know, we had we had a constitution that was heavily modeled on British colonial constitutions. Even the flag of New Richmond is sort of a nod to the British red ensign.
Hell, yours is more unique than ours. Ours was flat out the British blue ensign. If you ever saw our old flag, it flat out was a British ensign
Yeah, no, it
with
was
the Union
pretty
Jack
epic
and
and
all.
bad. I noticed. Um,
I think that, can I be honest with you? One of the biggest reasons why we went with the ensign was kind of a slight, subtle one-upsmanship on Jonathan, kind of saying, kind of a have at it to Jonathan, because Empire British and stuff. But we kind of changed it now. Now it's more unique because it was kind of ugly as hell.
I think
it was really ugly.
I think
Well, nobody
going
liked
kind
it.
of back to Dion's prime ministership, because I kind of read through Austronesian law because Jonathan actually wants me to join, I believe, his Privy Council. I'm not sure if it's the Privy Council or the Cabinet he wanted me to join, or both. And I'm like reading through it, and I'm like, I have to be a citizen for 3 years, and he's like, oh no, for this you don't. The
He's
reason why
Jonathan.
he wants me as head of their Ministry of Technology or something like that,
Well,
because I'm working on designing radio sets, radio transmitter sets for Austronesian citizens, as part of a ham radio, intermicronational ham radio system. It's just that Austronesia, since they have a lot of active citizens around the world, would be the first to get a set,
hold on a second.
to test it. That would be the prototype set. And, he wants me to join one of either the cabinet or the Privy Council, and Joey could probably elaborate what one it probably is, but he wants me to be the Minister of Technology or something to oversee it.
Well, I
And
mean, if
I'm
you're going to
looking
be
and
a
I'm like,
minister, then you're going to be in the cabinet. But he may have used the term advisor on technology, which would imply a privy council position.
okay, that might have been it. I
And
just
in that
remember him
role,
mentioning the Privy Council when I was like, well, I have to be a citizen 3 years before I can be part of Parliament. But then I got to thinking, and I'm like, looking at the Constitution, I'm like, 3 years to be able to vote or serve in Parliament. And I'm like,
Charlie boy, Austin is saying some things. Yeah, you could read them aloud so I could respond.
Oh, sorry, I thought you guys could see them because I'm putting the comments up on the screen. So if you guys are open like another tab,
yeah,
that
I can see them.
Anyway,
So the viewers can also see the questions?
Yeah, the questions are on screen. But basically,
Okay.
so I was letting you finish. So a rebuttal from Austin Jacks. He said that it did. I asked him if your answer helped. He said it did. He said he still thinks that Dynasty's a fascist though, because Japan was fascist even with an absolute monarchy or a constitutional monarchy. Japan was still fascist, though he definitely agrees that Dynasty is not a racist. I don't know where that came from, but glad he.
Japan really
I never
wasn't
got to finish my
fascist, though.
elaboration.
They were
I never really got to finish
militaristic.
my.
All right, yeah, Kennedy, it's all you. The floor's all you. Elaboration answer.
I never got to finish my elaboration on why Dionysi isn't a fascist. But if you look into his platform, usually if it were a fascist system, then it would advocate for, a central leader who, throughout the history of fascist states, was never the monarch. It was always a man of the people, a people's leader, the Führer, Il Duce, I guess in Hideki Tojo's case, the Prime Minister of Japan, you could argue that they weren't exactly fascist in the pure Italian sense of the word, but
even
whatever.
Tojo wasn't even prime minister by the end of the war.
He was chief of the
He was
Admiralty of the Navy.
elected. He was elected into office. They had elections later in like the middle of World War II, and he was no longer the prime minister. I think, ironically enough, I think Prime Minister Suzuki took office after him.
But anyways,
the idea that
back to what Joseph was saying.
Oh,
Let's have Joseph finish his elaboration just so we can get that done.
No disrespect, my guy, but it's
real
hard to get a point out.
I'm gonna mute everybody but Joseph for a minute so he can say what he needs to say.
All right. Thank you. Hello, that guy. What's up, that dude? Oh, he muted himself. Yeah, so if you look into Dionysius' policies, and this is something that I don't understand, he supports absolutely 100% strengthening the monarchy, making it sort of an almost, an autocratic figure, and he wants to completely abolish the office of prime minister. Get rid of it and switch over to the consuls, who right now are the semi-ceremonial heads of the judiciary. He wants to make them the head of government in the Roman sense, where they alternate fasces every month. The first consul can execute policy in January, and the other guy can veto him, and then reverse the next month, and so on and so on. 1 year term. Under the rules now, you can serve a second term as consul in a row. You can serve 2 terms in a row, but the same 2 consuls can't serve together. I'm not sure if he would have that rule continue, but to argue that he's a fascist when he argues for a system that would, by design, not allow a strong non-monarchical official to rule the country, doesn't make any sense. He is a Roman-style autocrat. He's not a fascist. Don't like to give him much credit because, like I said, I do fundamentally disagree with most of his policies. But he's not a fascist. We can't just throw the word fascist around to belittle our opponents. It was fucking dumb when they called George Bush a Nazi. It was fucking dumb when they called Obama a Nazi. It's fucking dumb when they call Trump a Nazi now. I don't support any of the 3 of them. But, it stands. You can't just call anyone you don't like a fucking fascist and it'll fly. That's not how it works. Yeah, that's all I got for that one. I can't hear any of you if you're speaking.
Well, we're unmuted now. There we go.
Okay,
Everyone's unmuted.
Okay.
King's ball here.
I wanted to go after Kennedy. I mean, I do not think that Dionysi is a fascist at all, but just I feel like that the progress that you, Kennedy, have made for Australasia to get to this democratic point, and he is clearly anti-democratic from conversations I've had with him, and it's scary to think that he actually believes that one person should rule over 50 people and not the 50 people rule amongst themselves, and just that style of mindset and just taking it back to more authoritative rule. And I don't think he's fascist, but he's definitely just anti-democratic on a new level that I've seen. And so that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, absolutely. He's already started rolling back accomplishments of mine. He repealed a decent portion of the Parliament Act. The thing that I don't understand is that he repealed the part of the Parliament Act which states that members of the House of Representatives have to address statements directly to the Speaker and not to each other, which is like, just kind of one of those basic principles of how parliaments work, and how, like, if you're charged with a traffic violation, you have to go to court and you directly address opposing counsel instead of addressing the judge. The judge will fucking bang his little gavel and say, "You address all statements to the bench." That's like a principle, a basic principle of how meetings of government bodies like that conduct themselves. So I didn't understand that one. I don't understand why that was one of the first decisions of mine that he repealed. But, to each their own.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I do find it appalling the way that we all went at the same time. That was kind of funny.
Go ahead, Nick.
Okay,
Oh, we got
I
a
was gonna
logo
say,
now.
like, I do kind of find it appalling about how, like, the ways that he has tried to come into office, and from what I've seen from other people, and it's like this way of when Kennedy announced it was seating for New Virginia, and just this way of bringing in people and just bringing them in, seating new territory to win, because he knows that he wouldn't have won an Austinesian electorate without them. And I just think that's something too, is that
here's
it's
my
like almost
issue
like a
with
2016
that.
scenario where I think
Here's my issue with that. I've had a look over the Austinesian Constitution, and Joey can correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to be a citizen of Austranasia for a while before you can even vote.
Did you
That's
read
not
the
true.
amended version?
That wasn't true with me, at least. I know when
I read like you have to be in Austranasia for 3 years before you can serve in Parliament. And
that's
like,
not even. I know that's one. I know, like, the
and
voting.
the Prime Minister isn't elected by the people; he's elected through Parliament. So
I
it's
know
like
for
all these
sure
new
though.
people are coming in,
That's not even
can't even serve in
remotely
Parliament.
true.
Yeah, it's not even nearly true for, like, the voting thing. I know because I was offered. The only reason I didn't vote in the last election was because, to be completely honest, I got the voting dates mixed, and I was going to vote about an hour after the deadline ended because of time zone problems. So that was the only reason I didn't vote. He
No,
sent me a ballot and everything. So.
either you misread the Constitution, or you're reading a completely different document, because the
That's
Prime
the
Minister
document
is
Jonathan
not.
shared with me.
The Prime
Granted,
Minister
he
is
shared it
not.
with me after you left,
The
so
Prime
maybe it's
Minister.
changed.
The Prime Minister is not, and has never been, elected through Parliament. The Prime Minister has always been elected by direct popular vote. Now, in order to be a candidate for Prime
Doesn't make him
Minister,
a Prime Minister, though.
in order to be a candidate, you must be a member of Parliament, and you must be approved by the monarch. But Parliament doesn't do the voting. That's never happened.
Oh, yeah.
The
That's
only
far
time
more democratic than Britain.
the only time that an Austinesian prime minister was appointed by anything other than direct popular vote was when they declared independence from Britain. The Declaration of Independence stated that Jonathan would be the first prime minister. That is and he held an election a couple of months after to formalize that. It has always been by direct popular vote for the prime minister and for members of the House of Representatives.
Okay. Well, my other point would have been, I would say that Jonathan would, behind the scenes, be approving of the measures that Dion is proposing.
Oh, I can absolutely 100% with no reasonable doubt assure you that he supports what's going on. That he supports Dionysus' measures.
Because
one issue, one thing that came up when when I was serving as prime minister, this was around 2017, when Pavle, I'm sure everyone here knows Pavle. when he was an Austronesian and he was the head of our intelligence service, against my wishes. I directly advised against it, and he wanted to appoint Pavle to a ministerial post, and I said, no, I will not allow that. He will not serve on my cabinet. But I couldn't do anything to stop him from becoming the intelligence director. That's under Jonathan's authority, not mine. When
Which doesn't seem
Pavle,
right. That doesn't really seem right. I thought that should be a prime minister job and not really a monarch job. I don't think you see the Queen of England. I don't really think you see the Queen of England appointing members of MI6. If you get what I'm trying to say, I feel like
it made
I mean,
sense. It makes sense for Austranasia in a way, just because of the way that the head of state of Austranasia, just the way that office is organized and the way it is intended to exist. But I digress.
I mean, I think.
One
I mean, I
major,
don't think.
but
I'm sorry.
one major issue of contention between me and Jonathan during that era where Pavle was on board was that Pavle managed to get through to Jonathan that by virtue of how strong the office of monarch was, Austranasia was not a parliamentary constitutional monarchy. Austranasia was a parliamentary autocratic monarchy. And the wiki articles were changed for a brief time to reflect this. And I I went off on Jonathan. I I was belligerently angry. I was like, no, that word, the inclusion of that word in our public presence on the internet completely undermines everything I've done over the past couple of years to build democracy. That is not how this country should see itself. And Jonathan's willingness for it then leads me to believe that he is absolutely in favor of what Dionysi is proposing now. If you go back through Austronasia's articles, you will find an article for something called the Organization of Austronesian Nationalists. It was a political party that existed that was ran by Pavle. And if you look at those policies and you compare those policies, which Pavle is a real unironic fascist and a racist, unabashedly. But if you compare the fundamentals of his policies that are listed on that article to what Dionysi, um, what Dionysi is proposing and has proposed, you'll just realize that Dionysi is Pavle diet, diet Pavle. I couldn't think of a better analogy, but yeah, a lot of the same thing.
Jonathan, I mean, to answer the question from Austin, Jonathan's lax in public. I've had many deep conversations with the man, and you can kind of see his mentality is he believes Austranasia will outlive him. He really does. And so he can afford to appear benevolent while still maintaining a lot of ambition. Um, he can appear to be appeasing the democratic elements under Joey for a long period of time and still believe that he can retain power or even increase his power years later, which is obviously he's at that point. So, we say that he's lax about it. He's playing a long game. In micronationalism, we often think of the short game. We often think of what is my micronation going to accomplish this year or even this month. Jonathan, he's like, what is my micronation going to accomplish by the time I'm 50, 30 years from now? So or no, 25 years from now, because he's 25. So it's like he obviously expects to be in micronationalism for a long time. So he's not really worried about democracy rising or falling within Australasia. For him, it doesn't matter, to me. I think that there are points where, yeah, the monarchy is under certain threats that kind of he'll quietly quell down, like when he, I keep pointing the wrong direction because it's a mirror opposite, sorry. But like Joey described, he was like, a lot of bills Joey had turned down.
No, it wasn't a lot. It was only one.
Oh, only one? Okay.
The Civil Unions Bill was the only bill I've ever proposed that did not pass.
All right, well, for some reason he saw it as a threat. So, he is playing a very long,
all
very
right, so
patient.
I do have one last question. To put up for not Jonathan, for Joseph. Again, another one from Austin. So I guess this will probably be our last question for tonight. Though I just want to point out that Nicholas is getting ready to nod off here, so it'll just be us three for a little bit. But I just want to read this last question. It says, that's technically true. John's extremely lax on voting rules. I voted in both the 2018 and 2019 elections, and I had only been a citizen for around an hour before I voted.
It's been a very long time since I've read the Australasian Constitution front to back, so I'm not entirely sure of the legality of that. I suppose as a registered doctor in micronational law, I should probably know how to answer
Where'd
that.
you
Off
get your
the top of my head,
education?
but,
Where'd you get your education?
the University of St. Charlie.
Damn, I wish I had
I'm a
attended that. I wanted
graduate.
to attend there before they bloody closed.
I'm a graduate of I'm a graduate of the Molossian Naval Academy, because everybody is, and the University of St. Charlie. I'm pretty sure I was the last graduate of the University of St. Charlie before they went inactive in 2014. So that's kind of sick. Something interesting about New Virginia that you may not know. Did you know that New Virginia is the only micronation in the community that is directly, I guess you could say, descended from both St. Charlie and Australasia?
Really?
Yes. I wouldn't say
What
that we're a
about
successor
something
to St. Charlie because there is a recognized successor to St. Charlie, and that is the Republic of I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but St. Castin.
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Which, yeah, the French Canadian micronation. They are recognized as St. Charlie's official successor. Saint Denis. Saint Denis. Fuck, I love Red Dead too. But anyways,
Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Fred Blood.
Oh.
Never in my life have I been that proud to be a Southerner as when that fucking video game came out.
And then you find, and in the spirit of all other open world games,
we have got to cover, before we go, we have got to cover the reason why we were going to do this episode. The April Fool's joke.
God fucking damn it, I forgot until you reminded me. Fuck,
Okay, so let me explain this. So in the admin chat, like a couple weeks ago, we were discussing, what we're going to do for April Fool's prank. And we're like, well, we did the gnomes. We did... What did we do the year before? I think Nicholas mentioned it.
Thomas Cassidy Death Oaks. There was a Thomas Cassidy Death
yes. And then, there's been several, Australasia, disintegrated, or Jonathan sold the MicroWiki to a llama, or, a bunch of stupid shit. And we're like, the only two ideas we could really come up with was Math Pony or Ziki, And it was like, well, Zeke, we already kind of did. And Math Pony, we're saving it for Math Pony Day, which is in August. And, it's not going to be a big thing. It's not going to be an annoying in the way thing like this is. So I'm like, well, my micronation uses this weird alphabet. It's from a video game from, the from 2001. So nobody, all the micronationalists in the community practically were born 5 or more years after this game even came out, so they'd be completely unaware. And so I sent the font over to Carl. Carl put it in. I thought we were just going to do the main page. I had no idea he was going to do the whole wiki. But that was going to be the April Fool's joke.
Tell Carl I love
it looks like.
And guys, all right, since we got that discussed, one last thing before we go. We have 2 last questions from our audience. You ready for these last 2 questions? And they're not by Austin. You ready, guys? And they're not. All right. These are probably the most intense questions. Ready? Number 1. What are the host's favorite colors?
Green.
Say green or cream?
Green.
All right. I think my favorite probably has to be red. Crimson kind of red, maybe.
I think green wins.
What is that, Nicholas?
Fucking.
I said green. Green wins.
Yes. How about you, Joseph? What's your favorite color?
Give me a high five.
You're not the host, but you might as well.
Give me a high five.
It's gonna be a blue.
Nice. All right, final question here for
tonight. Team green.
Yeah. Will these? Oh, there. Okay.
There we go.
All right. Anyway, final question. So, final question from French Fry Agima, and he asked, "Will these podcasts be on a weekly basis?" I think so. Maybe even 2 a week. Maybe or every day. No. Hell no, not every day. I can't do this.
I mean, after we get some sleep, we could probably do a more organized one since this is kind of the pilot.
Oh my God! Is that a face reveal? It's a chin. Do a chin reveal. Do a chin reveal. Come on, Joseph. Do a chin reveal. Oh my God! It's a chin reveal. Ladies and gentlemen,
my face is on MicroWiki. It's not that fucking special.
Kind of is. So he's never.
So for the record, Joey has been smoking a blunt this entire time.
You can kind of tell.
No blunt. No blunt. I am what you would call a nicotine addict.
Well, now we're waiting for. Now it's about time until YouTube strikes this podcast down for violent terms.
This is what I've been smoking. Get ready, boys. You're about to watch a major micronational historical figure and former chairman of the GUM take a fucking bong rip.
Yeah, this totally isn't going to come back to bite us all in the ass. No way possibly this could come back to bite any of us in the ass in the future.
Hey, this isn't my channel.
Shut up. All right, well, I guess that's what. So what's your question? Yeah, we're going to try doing it at least once a week, minimum, maybe more, depending on the time. We plan on making this like a big thing. Eventually maybe we might talk about a couple other things, more micronational cultural based, We got a podcast. I guess you'd consider us the micronational CNN if CNN didn't stand for Cut News Network.
So I think what's going to happen is, we're going to, obviously it's very late for us, for me, Nicholas and Joey. It's 3:15 a.m.
We've officially been streaming for 108 minutes and 40 seconds.
How long was this going on before I joined?
About a half hour.
About a half hour, yeah.
Oh, sick.
So I think what's going to happen is we're going to go to sleep.
I can check. We started the stream. Hold on. So it started 108 minutes ago. So that would basically mean that yeah, it was started about a bit over an hour.
Yeah.
But started an hour.
I think we're going to, all go to sleep, wake up, I don't know, maybe noon, 1 o'clock, whatever. And we'll talk about new topics and maybe try this out again tomorrow evening. I mean, come on, we're
a
all
bit
in
earlier, maybe a lot earlier.
quarantine. I mean, the only person going to work is the guy in red.
Yeah. Anyway, that about wraps up tonight. Joseph, thank you for your time.
I work in a grocery store. I'm one of those essential workers.
Well, you're not a host.
Your boy's
we don't care what
pulling
you
over
make
40 hours a week.
Anyway, that's about wraps up
Get
tonight.
out of here.
Thank you, Joseph, so much for your time. It was actually a really good pleasure to have you on the podcast. If you guys have any suggestions for anyone who wants to be on next podcast, anyone has any recommendations for who wants to be on next podcast, remember, if we don't get ideas, we might just put Leon on this thing, and no one wants to see that. So, all right.
Isn't he like 8?
Yeah, he's 13, I think. Yeah, he just turned 13. I know that because of I don't know. But anyway, I guess that'll wrap it up for the night. Thank you guys so much for attending. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Dickie. And thank you so much, Joseph Kennedy. All right. Thank you very much, Joseph. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Joseph Kennedy, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank you very much for watching this pilot episode of the show. We hope you guys did enjoy it as much as we enjoyed making it. Believe me, we enjoyed making this. And this was the one last thing I wanted to show. I wanted to show this in the chat, and this is what caused everyone to go crazy. I tried showing this one image over on the chat back when we were talking about MicroWiki versus MicroFandom. But anyway, that wraps it up for today's episode. We do hope that you guys did enjoy watching as much as we enjoyed making it. And from all of us, have a good night, everyone. Or good morning if you're everyone else except me.
It's morning for everyone. Where are you?
Glorious AOZ. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely rest of your night. That's it. That's all.
Ciao.
That's all.